Shalom, this is Officer Micah here from IUIC Diaspora, and we're here today with another message for our lost Israelite brethren scattered abroad, specifically for our brethren in Ethiopia, Eritrea, and even all over Africa. So today we're going over the Ark of the Covenant. Where is the Ark of the Covenant at? Some say it's in Ethiopia, some might say Iraq. We've heard different things. Let's go to the scriptures to see where it will be in these last days. First, we're going to start with Galatians chapter 4 and verse 26. Which says, "But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all." So yes, when you say Africa is our homeland, you're technically correct, because Israel and Jerusalem is in northeast Africa. That is our homeland. That's where life started. That's where the Garden of Eden was at. That is where creation started. That's the mother that birthed all of us. So Jerusalem is our homeland. That is our true homeland, that one day when Christ come back, we're going to attain that back. Now, let's go to 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 11 to address how we're supposed to deal with biblical matters. The book of 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 11, which says, "If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God." So anything that we say, dealing with the scriptures, dealing with the ark, we should be able to bring it out of the book. "If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which God giveth." So anything that we say or do, we know it comes from the Lord. When we're prophesying, when we're breaking down certain things, and any understanding that we get, we know it's from the Lord. And to get understanding from the Lord, we got to get it from his book. That's the only way, and keeping the commandments. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 21. So when we make statements, we got to be able to back it up. So 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 21 says, "Prove all things." Prove all things. So anything that I say or any of our leadership says or anything that you might want to say, we got to be able to prove it with the Bible. That's what the scriptures say. So if you think the ark is in Ethiopia, you have to prove it with the Bible or with facts. And we're going to show today that the ark is not in Ethiopia. The book of Exodus chapter 25 and verse 1 says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel." The children of Israel, remember, that's the key point right there. And remember, we've been scattered throughout the nation. So yes, some of our people are in Ethiopia, are in Eritrea and other Africa. But the real true Ethiopians, the ones that enslaved us in our land, the ones that's right now still fighting warfare against you, using drone strikes to kill you, dealing with the civil war that's going on, who don't love us, those are the original Cushites. That's the lineage that they come from Babylon. That is their lineage. They are not Israelites. But some of our people are scattered in that land right now. "Speaking to the children of Israel, that they bring me an offering." It didn't say speaking to the Ethiopians. It didn't say speaking to the Cushites. It didn't say speaking to the Babylonians. It said speaking to the children of Israel. "That they bring me an offering of every man that giveth it willingly with his heart, ye shall take my offering." So yes, we know that some of our people are scattered throughout Ethiopia, Eritrea, and other parts of Africa. But the context here is dealing directly with the children of Israel. And we know that Ham is in the land of Africa as well too, in Canaan and Ethiopia, Eritrea, and other places. We might have the same dark skin color, but we're not of the same nation. When you look at the East Indians, some might be blacker than us. Are they our people? No. So just because your skin is dark doesn't mean you're of the nation of Israel or of the same kindred. Now, let's go to verse 8. "And let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them." Verse 9, "According to all that I show thee after the pattern of the tabernacle." So there was already a pattern or a stencil or an example that the Lord had of the tabernacle in the heavens that he showed to Moses for us to create these things based off of. "And the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall ye make it. And they shall make an ark of shittim wood. 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof." So that's length, width, and height. "And thou shalt overlay it with pure gold." Man, we had some bad skills. "Within it and without it shall thou overlay it, and thou shalt make upon it a crown of gold round about." 13. "And thou shalt make staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold. And thou shalt put the staves into the rings by the sides of the ark, that the ark may be borne with them. The staves shall be in the rings of the ark, they shall not be taken from it. And thou shalt put into the ark the testimony which I shall give thee, and thou shalt make a mercy seat of pure gold. 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half of the breadth thereof. So that's the testimony, the law, and the mercy seat. And thou shalt make 2 cherubims of gold of beaten work, thou shalt make them. And make 1 cherub on the one end, and the other cherub on the other end. Even of the mercy seat ye shall make the cherubims of the 2 ends thereof. And the cherubim shall stretch forth their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings, and their faces shall look one to another. So on top of the ark, we had the mercy seat, and we had an angel on one side and an angel on the other side, and there would be kind of stretched forward, like they're pointing towards one another. Verse 21, and thou shalt put the mercy seat above upon the ark, and in the ark thou shalt put the testimony that I shall give thee. Now we read about the creation of the ark and some of the things that went inside of it. Now let's go to Joshua 3:3. Let's see, because there were certain orders that went along with dealing with the ark. Not just anybody could touch the ark or could deal with it, which says, and they commanded the people, when ye see the ark of the covenant, your God, and the priests, the Levites bearing it. So in order to, whoever was in the ministry of bearing the ark and dealing with it, it was always a Levite. It was always a priest. And not just any old Levite. You had to be from a certain sect, a certain seed through the sons of Aaron. And everybody had their certain offices. Then you had the high priest that deal with certain things in the temple. There was always order and structure dealing with these things. Not anybody else can go, oh yeah, let me see the ark, man. What's up with the ark? I want to look inside it. No. Certain things will happen to people that dealt with the ark that weren't supposed to deal with it. And we're going to read that later. The priest and the Levites bearing it, then you shall remove it from your place and go after it. Yet there shall be a space between you and it, about 2,000 cubits by measure. That's how far back we had to stand. If you weren't bearing, some of those Levites that were meant to bear the ark, you had to be 2,000 cubits standing behind it, that you may know the way by which you must go, for you have not passed this way therefore. And Joshua said unto the people, sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you. So we had to sanctify ourselves even before, even being that far away from the ark, we still had to cleanse ourselves before then. And Joshua spake unto the priests, saying, take up the ark of the covenant and pass over before the people. And they took up the ark of the covenant and went before the people. And the Lord said unto Joshua, this day will I begin to magnify thee in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. So now after Moses was in charge, Joshua was next up to lead the people. Now, unfortunately, there were times when we did evil in the sight of the Lord, and things happened to us dealing with the ark, which we're about to read about. So 1 Samuel 4:1 says, and the word of Samuel came unto all Israel. Now Israel went out against the Philistines to battle, and pitched beside Ebenezer, and the Philistines pitched in Aphek. And the Philistines put themselves in array against Israel, and when they joined battle, Israel was smitten before the Philistines. So we were losing the battle at this time. And they slew of the army in the field about 4,000 men. And when the people were coming to the camp, the elders of Israel said, wherefore hath the Lord smitten us today before the Philistines? Let us fetch the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of Shiloh unto us, that when it cometh among us, it may save us out of the hand of our enemies. So the ark was so powerful that when we had it within our camp, we would win certain battles. We would have the spirit and the power of the Lord with us to help us in these fights. Verse 4. So the people went to Shiloh, that they might bring from thence the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth between the cherubims, and the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of God. Like we read in Joshua, how certain priests, Levites, had to bear the ark. Those were the 2 who had to bear the ark when they had to bring it. And when the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all Israel shouted with a great shout, so that the earth rang again. And when the Philistines heard the noise, so we was that boisterous when we got the ark, that the Philistines heard that thing and said the earth rang, meaning what? They felt the vibration of the earth from our shouts and cheers when we got the ark of the covenant. And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said, what meaneth this noise of the shout and this great shout in the camp of the Hebrews? And they understood that the ark of the Lord was come unto the camp. So even right then and there, they knew that the ark was among us. That's how great that thing was. And for the Philistines were afraid, for they said, God is coming to the camp. And they said, woe unto us, destruction unto us. Now God is with them. They got the ark. We can't go against them now, for there have not been such a thing heretofore. Woe unto us. Who shall deliver us now that them damn Africans scared? The real Africans, who shall deliver us out of the hand of these mighty gods? These are the gods that smote the Egyptians with the plagues in the wilderness. So they knew what happened to the Egyptians before. Like, damn, that same stuff's going to happen to us. We ain't trying to see that wreck. Be strong and quit yourselves like men, O you Philistines. Now they're trying to hide themselves back up. That you be not servants unto the Hebrews, as they have been to you. Quit yourselves like men and fight. And the Philistines fought, and Israel was smitten, and they fled every man into his tent. And there was a very great slaughter, for there fell of Israel 30,000 footmen. And the ark of God was taken, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were slain. Now, this only happened to us because we were dealing with other gods. We were following certain gods, dealing with Baal and certain idols. If we weren't at this time going off and following different idols, the Lord would have delivered us. But we had to be taught to listen. But don't worry, we got taught to listen, but so did the Philistines. So now, let's jump down to verse 17. Let's see what happens after they took our ark. Because remember, even certain people of the children of Israel couldn't touch the ark. So let's see what happened to these heathens that touched the ark. Verse 17. And the messenger answered and said, Israel is fled before the Philistines. There hath been also a great slaughter among the people, and thy two sons Hophni and Phinehas are dead, and the ark of God is taken. And it came to pass, because remember Phinehas and Hophni, if you read the history, they were on the evil side of the Lord. They were taking money. They were dealing with adultery and fornication with women in the temples. They had a lot of foolishness with them too. And it came to pass, when the messenger, it says, when he made mention of the ark of God, that he fell from off the seat backward by the side of the gate, and his neck brake, and he died. For when he was an old man and heavy, and he had judged Israel 40 years. So now Eli died. Because why? His sons were running rampant doing evil things, and he didn't fix that. He didn't correct that thing, unfortunately. 1 Samuel 5:1. And the Philistines took the ark of God, and brought it from Ebenezer unto Ashdod. When the Philistines took the ark of God, they brought it into the house of Dagon. Dagon is one of their idolatrous fish gods. The Dagon hat, you see it on the Catholic priests where they have that fish cone hat. That's giving homage to the god of Dagon. Same with Starbucks. Same with Poseidon and Aquaman. All that stuff goes back to Dagon, which ultimately goes back to Nimrod and Tammuz. And it says, and when they of Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen up upon his face. So their idol that they made fell on the ground somehow. To the earth before the ark of the Lord, like it was bound to it. And they took Dagon, and they set him in his place again. And when they arose early on the morrow morning, so the next day, behold, his face was to the ground before the ark of the Lord, and the head of Dagon, and both the palms of his hands were cut off upon the threshold. Only the stump of Dagon was left to him. So the idol was getting destroyed. Who do you think was doing that? The Spirit of the Lord, the angels, just showing them, hey, look, the same destruction that happened to your false idol is coming to y'all. We're going to read down to verse 9. Therefore, neither the priests of Dagon nor any that come into Dagon's house tread on the threshold of Dagon and Ashdod until this day. But the hand of the Lord was heavy upon them of Ashdod, and he destroyed them and smote them with emerods. So when you look up emerods is modern day what we call hemorrhoids. And where do most people get hemorrhoids at? You gotta think about it. This is what he did to the Philistines. Even Ashdod and the coast thereof. And if you don't know where most people get hemorrhoids at, it's something that you use to relieve yourself when you go number 2. So that's where so not let alone there, but the rest of their body, they were getting plagued with this. Verse 7, and when the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, they said, the ark of the God of Israel shall not abide with us. We don't want it no more. For his hand is sore upon us and upon Dagon our God. So just for them taking the ark, they got not just killed, but they got plagued with hemorrhoids as well too. So we know wherever this ark is at, when it's not in the right hands, plagues are going to follow it. That's a sign we got to look at biblically. They sent therefore and gathered all the lords of the Philistines unto them and said, what shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel? And they answered, let the ark of the God of Israel be carried unto Gath. And they carried the ark of Israel about thither. And it was so that after they had carried it about, the hand of the Lord was against the city with a very great destruction. And he smote the men of the city, both small and great, and they had emerods in their secret parts. Where are your secret parts at? Where are your private parts at? That's how they got fried. That's how they got judged by the Lord for taking our ark. Now, let's jump another chapter, 1 Samuel 6:1. See, these are all signs we got to look at biblically to see if a nation of people had the ark who aren't supposed to have it, because the people in Ethiopia, even our scattered Israelites there, aren't of the tribe of Levi. And even then, with the temple being away with and Christ being our high priest now, There's certain things and offices we don't do anymore that's not going to be in the place until Christ come back again. We don't have our temple. We don't have our holy mountain. It's trodden down by Gentiles now. We don't do certain things anymore because when Christ came and he sacrificed himself and he was a sacrificial lamb, the Levitical priesthood was done away with. And now he is a sacrificial lamb. So we don't sacrifice anymore. We don't do burnt offerings anymore. Now we got to sacrifice our flesh. We got to sacrifice our arms and our limbs and our eyes. Meaning what? We got to sacrifice our things our sins and the pleasures that we love and we want to do. We can't do things anymore. We got to cut off family members. We got to cut off certain things that we do. We got to change our lives to what? To follow the Bible. That's how we become that offering. That's how we give our sacrifices and our burnt offerings. By what? By giving our lives to the Lord. And not just by changing our lives, not just by repenting and becoming a new creature. Also, one day we're going to have to lose our own life physically as well, too, just like the disciples did. That's going to be the true burnt sacrifice when we die for the Lord. 1 Samuel 6:1. And the ark of the Lord was in the country of the Philistines 7 months. And the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners, saying, what shall we do to the ark of the Lord? Tell us what shall we send it to his place? They want to send it back. They want to do with it no more. And they said, if you send away the ark of God of Israel, send it not empty. Meaning we can't send it back with no empty gifts. But in any wise, return him a trespass offering. Then ye shall be healed, and it shall be known to you why his hand is not removed from you. So they couldn't send it back empty-handed. They had to make sure they had to send it back with a trespass offering to apologize for even taking it in the first place. Then they said, what shall be the trespass offering? What shall we return to him? They answered, 5 golden emerods. So they had to make gold hemorrhoids. And what else? And 5 golden mice, according to the number of the lords of the Philistines. For one plague was on all of you and of your lords. Wherefore you shall make images of your emerods and images of your mice that mar the land. So it wasn't just the hemorrhoids they were getting in their private and secret parts. They had mice and certain animals that were plaguing the land and eating their crops as well too. Just like how similar to the plagues on Egypt, where they got boils and they got certain things and they lost their crops and they lost their livestock were dying. He did the same thing to these Hamites here as well too. And you shall give glory unto the God of Israel. Peradventure he will lighten his hand from off you, and off your gods, and off from your land. Wherefore, then do ye harden your hearts, as the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened their hearts, when he had wrought wonderfully among them. And you see, they said those plagues were wonderfully among them. Did they not let the people go and they departed? Now therefore make a new cart. We're going to read about this cart later. And take 2 milk kine, and kine are cows, on which there hath come no yoke, and tie the kine to the cart, and bring their calves home from them. And take the ark of the Lord, and lay it upon the cart, and put the jewels of gold, which ye return him for a trespass offering, in a coffer by the side thereof, and send it away that it may go. 2 Samuel 6:1. Again, David gathered together all the chosen men of Israel, 30,000. And David arose and went with the people that were with them from Baale of Judah to bring up from thence the ark of God, whose name is called by the name of the Lord of hosts that dwelleth between the cherubims. And they sent the ark of God upon a new cart. So now we have a new cart, and brought it out of the house of Abinadab that was in Gibeah. And Uzzah and Ahio, the sons of Abinadab, drave the new cart. And they brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was at Gibeah, accompanying the ark of God. And Ahio went before the ark. And David and all the house of Israel played before the Lord of all manner of instruments, made of fir wood, even on harps and on psalteries, and on timbrels, and on cornets, and on cymbals. And when they came to Nachon's threshing floor, Uzzah put forth his hand to the ark of God, and took hold of it, for the oxen shook it. So they're carrying the ark. The oxen, you have a horse and buggy. Sometimes they get spooked and move or whatever. And the ark was stumbling, about to fall. And he took his hand and he touched the ark. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah. And God smote him there for his error. And there he died by the ark of God. So certain people weren't supposed to even touch the ark. Remember, it was certain priests and certain high priests that dealt with certain things in the temple. And if you weren't supposed to be dealing with it or touching with it, it was a judgment. So not just the Philistines getting judged, we have Israel getting judged here for even touching the ark. So that's how we know that if whoever claims they have the ark had it, there'll be a lot of judgment and a lot of biblical feats that we would see going on to know that they had it. Whether it's positive feats, like they'll be the most powerful people, or negative feats, like it'll be like rain and hailfire on them. One of those two things. So now let's go to Hebrews 9:4. Let's read about some more things that were inside of the ark that we read back about in Exodus 25. There's some glorious things dealing with the ark and dealing with the things of the office of the priest. Hebrews 9, we're going to start at verse 4. I'm going to start at verse 3. And after the second veil, the tabernacle, which is called the holiest of all, which had the golden center and the ark of the covenant overlaid round about with gold. You just got to think of that process. First, they made it with shittim wood, and then to overlay it with gold, the smelting process, it was a lot that went into that feat and a lot of perfection that went into making that. Wherein was the golden pot that had manna. So we had a golden pot with manna, and Aaron's rod that budded, and the tables of the covenant. So we had the manna, we had Aaron's rod, and we had the law and the covenant inside the ark. And over it, the cherubims of glory shadowing the mercy seat. Remember we talked about earlier how they were faced parallel to one another like this, and the mercy seat was in the middle, which we cannot now speak particularly. So certain things that even Paul couldn't speak of or reveal to certain people because it was too holy to even be said of or spoken of. Now, when these things were thus ordained, the priest went always into the first tabernacle, accomplishing the service of God. So now, let's jump. Oh, in verse 7, but into the second went the high priest alone. So remember, now there's distinction between the priest and the high priest. Alone once every year, not without blood, which he offered for himself and for the heirs of the people. So now let's go to 2 Maccabees 2 and 4. Now, we're going to read a biblical account dealing with the geographical location of the Ark of the Covenant. 2 Maccabees 2 and 1. It is also found in the records that Jeremiah, the prophet, commanded them that were carried away to take of the fire as it had been signified, and how that the prophet, having given them the law, charged them not to forget the commandments of the Lord, and that they should not err in their minds when they see images of silver and gold with their ornaments. Meaning what? We shouldn't go after these fake, false idols that we see. And today, a lot of people follow the idols we see in the Christian church. We keep Christmas, giving homage to Tammuz and Nimrod, two pagan gods. We follow Easter, which is giving praise to Semiramis. Even though they don't have the actual silver and gold idols, they still have that idol of Caesar Borgia. That's based off Tammuz, Nimrod's son. And that's where you get the Holy Trinity doctrine from. God is Christ, Christ is God. No, it's the Father and the Son. They're two different entities. That's for another lesson. Now, verse 4. It was also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of God, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him, as he went forth into the mountain where Moses climbed up, Mount Sinai, and saw the heritage of God. And when Jeremy came thither, he found an hollow cave, wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark and the altar of incense, and so stopped the door. Meaning what? He hid the way. He hid the entrance of the cave, the hollow cave, where he put the ark, the covenant, the ark, the tabernacle, and the other things that he had with him. Verse 6. And some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it. So they tried to mark the way where Jeremiah went, to find a way back to the cave. And he got mad. Let's read verse 7. Which when Jeremy perceived, he blamed them, saying, as for that place, the place where Jeremiah hid the ark, hid the tabernacle, he stopped the cave up, he hid the entrance, it shall be unknown. Nobody knows it. If something is unknown, it's not known, it's not verified, it's not a fact. So the prophet Jeremiah in the scriptures said that the location of the ark will be unknown until the time that God gather his people again together. Israel, we're not gathered together yet. We're still scattered across the four corners of the globe. We're still scattered in Africa, scattered in Europe, scattered in Asia, scattered in South America, North America, the islands of the sea. We're not gathered together in Jerusalem yet. And his people again together and receive them unto mercy. We're not under Christ's mercy yet. We're not in the kingdom as of yet. We don't have that true understanding yet. We don't have our new names. We don't have our new bodies yet. So until that time comes, until Christ come back and teaches us again, we will not know the location of the Ark of the Covenant. Thus saith the Lord. What is the nature
Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you.
And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. His word, His word, His word, His word.